Supervisor Bob Vinson was on night duty on the second floor of the hotel when he noticed a strange-looking machine in the corridor that hadn't been there earlier. This floor, dedicated to employees, was empty at this hour, and the sight of this unusual machine made the supervisor uneasy. It was a metallic box with a smaller box connected on top, and the front part looked like a peculiar control panel. The control panel had 28 switches, all numbered, with all switches facing downward except for switch number 23. It was around 6:30 in the morning, and this incident took place at Harvey's Lake Tahoe Hotel and Casino in Nevada, which was about to make national headlines in the next 24 hours. For Bob Vinson, the strange machine wasn't the only surprising thing. He had been on duty almost all night, but hadn't heard any noise of someone placing the machine in the corridor. Whoever left it there had placed it on 4 wooden blocks, which were pressed into the carpet, indicating that the machine was quite heavy. What made the situation even more bizarre was that the locks on the nearby doors had been disabled with super glue. As Bob was still trying to make sense of the situation, he found an envelope lying next to the machine. It read, "Harvey's Lake Tahoe is a well-known casino and hotel in the American state of Nevada." At the time we're talking about, it was an 11-story building with 197 rooms. Bob Vinson, on the second floor, found the envelope and ran to show it to others, but no one dared to open it, fearing it might be a trap. Later, using a broomstick, they shook it and opened it to find a 3-page document typed on a typewriter. The headline read, "Warning for Hotel Management and Bomb Squad." Below it was written, "Do not attempt to move this bomb, as it contains a mechanism that will detonate it in milliseconds if it is even slightly disturbed. Do not attempt to pour water or gas into it, as it contains float switches. If the internal air pressure increases, it will also detonate. The screws on top are connected to triggers, and if they are turned even 25%, the bomb will explode. In simple terms, this bomb is so sensitive that even the slightest movement could set it off." According to the letter, there were around 600 guests sleeping in their rooms at the time. The police first evacuated the hotel and directed everyone to the parking lot. The bomb squad was called, and they began inspecting the machine carefully. It was a 1/2-inch steel box, neatly welded, with bubble levels installed on all 4 sides, likely to keep the machine perfectly level. These details suggested that the letter might be genuine. The letter further stated that the bomb could not be deactivated by anyone, not even its creator. It had an automatic timer that would detonate it within the next 24 hours. The only option was to move it to a safe location, but only if the management followed the instructions in the letter. Law enforcement and the bomb squad, recognizing the delicacy of the situation, avoided any action that might risk detonation. They first searched for fingerprints on the box, but found none. They then took photos and x-rays to determine if there was actually something inside. While waiting for the x-ray to develop, they used a stethoscope to listen to the box and heard something moving inside. The letter claimed that the box contained TNT, and if it exploded, it would cause significant damage to the casinos across the road. The letter advised evacuating people within a 1,200-foot radius. Police officers evacuated nearby buildings, shut off the hotel's gas pipeline, and casino employees began moving millions of dollars in cash to safer locations. FBI agents arrived and set up a command center in a nearby building. The faces of the police and law enforcement officials showed that the situation was even more serious than it appeared. But what were the demands of the person who placed the bomb? The letter demanded $3 million in cash, in used $100 bills with no markings or chemicals. It also warned that if any tricks were played, the method to defuse the bomb would not be revealed. and if the demands were not met within 24 hours, the automatic timer would detonate the bomb. However, it was unclear who the money was meant for and how it would be delivered. When the X-ray film returned from the lab, the grainy black and white image supported some of the claims in the threatening letter. The small control box on top of the machine showed wires connected to the screws, as mentioned in the letter. The box also contained a straight tube, possibly a tilt sensor, and a float valve. The lower box was filled with various cylinders, though the police had no idea what they were. One thing was clear: the person who wrote the letter was not playing a prank. This machine was indeed a bomb. As the 24-hour deadline approached, authorities prepared to deliver the ransom. The 3-page letter included instructions for the delivery. The money would be delivered via helicopter. The pilot was instructed to land near the Lake Tahoe airport at 11 p.m., facing south, and then wait for further instructions via a phone call. The helicopter was to carry only the pilot, with no armed personnel. An FBI agent named Joe Koch was assigned to pilot the helicopter, which carried $3 million in counterfeit bills. A gunman was secretly hidden behind the pilot's seat, instructed to protect Joe at all costs. At exactly 11 p.m., Joe landed at the specified location and stood near the fence. Shortly after, a phone booth nearby rang. When Joe answered, a voice on the other end instructed him to pick up a letter under the phone booth table. The caller was cautious, staying on the line for no more than 5 seconds to avoid being traced. The new letter, addressed to the pilot, instructed him to first flash a light inside the helicopter to show every corner, as they were being watched. Then, he was to take off and head toward Highway 50. 15 minutes later, he would see a strobe light in the woods to his right, where he was to land facing south. There, he would find another letter hanging from a tree. Joe followed the instructions, carefully flashing the light inside the helicopter to avoid revealing the hidden gunman. He took off and reached the designated point, but found no strobe light. For the next hour, he circled the area, but found nothing in the dark forest. Eventually, he returned to the airport and landed. Later, it was discovered that he had misread the instructions and was miles away from the actual location. A message was broadcast on TV to inform the perpetrator about the confusion regarding the location. When the person behind the plan realized that the police were still willing to deliver the money, he called the police station and instructed them to turn switch number 5 on the machine upward and wait for the next call. By this time, it was 6:40 a.m. and the bomb had been in the hotel for over 24 hours without detonating. This was a positive sign. Meanwhile, the FBI bomb squad and fire department estimated that the box contained no more than 1,000 pounds of TNT. They calculated that detonating it in the hotel would damage only the interior of the floor, not the building's pillars. They placed a small explosive near the bomb, planning to disable the control box when it detonated, hoping it would prevent the TNT from exploding. All preparations were complete, and nearby buildings were evacuated. At 3:45 p.m. on August 27th, a crowd gathered a kilometer away to watch the scene. While news outlets recorded the event, a fire in the hole warning was given, and the remote control button was pressed. The machine in the corridor detonated with a blast. However, contrary to the letter's claim, the box did not contain TNT but dynamite, which has a lesser explosive impact. Later investigations revealed that the person behind the bomb was John Burgess, a 58-year-old man who had lost his life savings at the casino. He had planned this elaborate scheme to extort money from the hotel's owner. It was later discovered that Burgess' plan was to steal the helicopter with the cash. If the pilot had reached the correct location and gone into the woods to find the letter, Burgess' sons would have taken the helicopter and fled to a prearranged spot where their car was parked. John Burgess was sentenced to 20 years in prison, while his sons were pardoned for assisting the police. Burgess died of liver cancer in 1996. After the incident, the hotel's owner renovated Harvey's hotel and relaunched it with a new design and more rooms. I hope you enjoyed this story. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it. Thank you for your loving comments and stay tuned for the next amazing video.